Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Visions for Humanity podcast. I'm your host, Kiki Sita. Today is a really special day for me because I am going to share a vision for the collective that I saw. And I want to give you a little bit of background information. If you're new to my channel and you don't know who I am or what I do, I have the gift of clairvoyance and claircognizance, which I use to gain insight into people's individual lives and also us all as a collective here on Earth. I have many visions for how our future of humanity is going to play out. Sometimes I don't know when that vision will come to fruition. Today's vision is an example of that. I don't know how far in the future this is going to happen, but I also see visions for people on an individual basis. And this all started to happen when I had a really crazy metaphysical experience when I lived on Vancouver Island in 2019, I believe it was. I was meditating with a group of friends on the beach, and we were meant to send healing to one person that each of us chose to send healing to. My friend George had his spiritual mentor who had taught him everything about Reiki and energy work and becoming a psychic intuitive, had suffered a stroke. And so we went into a deep transcendental meditation to send her healing so that she could recover from her stroke. In that meditation, she came to me psychically. I had never met her before in person, but I saw her clear as day. And she came to me and basically said, I am not going to recover from this stroke and I'm not meant to. I would like to transition back into non physical, which means I would like to leave this planet. And my healing, if you want to heal me, my healing is allowing me to pass my abilities and my gifts down to someone. And I was very confused at first. I didn't understand why she wouldn't just accept the healing. We all know how to do Reiki work, we all know how to do quantum distance healing. And she, of all people, knew how that worked. All she would have to do was accept it. And so we went back and forth a little bit, and she absolutely insisted that she pass her gifts onto someone. And then she got more specific and she said, You're it, like you're the one. And it took me a little while, but when I finally agreed to take that, because I finally understood that is the way that I could heal her, that's the thing that I could offer her to help her transition into the non physical realm to pass these abilities on. The second that I agreed to that, I had a wild experience where all at the same time I felt like there was like energetic fireworks going off inside my heart. I started to feel lightheaded. I started to swindle around and shake and vibrate. I thought at one point that I was levitating. I felt just a burst of all sorts of emotions and so much energy surging through my body that it was overwhelming to my nervous system. And long story short, when we came out of that meditation, so I had made peace with her and I had asked her, like, oh my gosh, does this mean now that like you're going to transition? And she said, yes, thank you. And she thanked me for taking on these abilities. And we didn't know what to do with that information. So we sat on it for a couple weeks and she did indeed end up passing away, I think 10 days later when George gave us the news. And ever since then, I got visions for my own life. I can see patterns. I can see cycles. I can see what times are good times to do certain things. What I call them anointed times. Like when you have an anointed time period, you can take advantage of that because you're meant to be doing certain things during that time. I have been able to get myself out of situations that were sticky because I could have enough insight in the future to see how my actions were going to have an effect and how that would happen. I've also been able to, I shy away from using the word predict, but I've been able to predict certain outcomes in my life and other people's lives, been able to see certain timelines. And I've also helped a lot of people in their daily practical lives, through court cases and divorces and relationship issues and transitions through different careers and just the simple evolution of your soul journey here on this earth, and to try to make sense of things with a deeper spiritual perspective, because that's something that often people are lacking, because they haven't taken the time to attune themselves to the spiritual part of them. And so that's a perspective that a lot of people are lacking. They think with their earthly mind, they think logically, versus I can offer a very spiritual perspective on the spiritual reason as to why you may be experiencing certain things in your life and how to navigate through them by tapping into your energetic part of you, your spiritual part of you. As we know of the order of creation, everything is energy and conscious thought, consciousness before it materializes into the physical reality. And so we have a lot of leverage there for energetics. If you line up your energetics, if you line up spiritually and get into unconditional alignment within around a certain issue, we can really create a path of least resistance for you so that you don't have to fight so hard in the physical realm of things that have already manifested. So I help people go back up to the energetic conscious realm and recreate and rewrite the grid, so that grid can then come down and anchor into the physical realm, so that people don't have to fight so hard and move these big boulders out of their way in the physical world. They can leverage the energetic capabilities that they have. I also created a course called Unlocking Your Spiritual Superpowers, which was a 9-step transformational program to help people come online to their psychic abilities, to creating a relationship and fostering a relationship with themselves, with their intuition, recognizing what capabilities they have beyond just their physical mind and their physical body, because we are spirits having a human experience, not humans that sometimes have these crazy spiritual experiences. It's the other way around. And so my life's vocation is to help people marry mind, body, and spirit and walk throughout every single day, never shelving that spiritual part of you, so that you're always connected to your intuition. And that part of you is always working and moving through you and helping you navigate through your life and through your day. All that to say, I have had only a few really vivid visions that have stuck with me in such a way. I get a lot of visions on a daily basis for my clients, for myself, just the thoughts and the downloads that I have about where I see where things in the world are going. But there's only a handful of visions that have really stopped me in my tracks, where I think, okay, this is something that sticks, and I cannot get my mind off of them. One of those visions I had for my boyfriend, I think it was our first year of dating. I saw a vision of an archery, like an arrow, like lining up an arrow, and that it took forever to line up this arrow. What had happened was we were at the hot springs. He had just gotten a full leg sleeve tattoo. He couldn't go in the water. So I was basking in the hot springs, just sitting there, just chilling. And I thought, oh boy, I better go look and check on him. So he was sleeping on a picnic table. He can fall asleep wherever. He was sleeping on a picnic table, and I went up and I just had this inclination to do Reiki work on him. So I put my hand on top of his solar plexus chakra. I closed my eyes and I tuned in, and I started to get this vision of that he would take a long time to set things up. He's a very calculated, very logical, analytical individual. I'm the polar opposite. But I saw this in the vision of a metaphor where an arrow, an archery arrow, was being pulled back. And you know how in movies where you have the arrow and the coach comes up and drops the shoulders and corrects their form so that it's absolutely perfect. And then you slowly pull that bow back. Well, It was taking so long that I was getting frustrated with my vision because I was like, let's get to the point, shoot the damn thing, right? All the while, I know people were walking by wondering probably what the hell is she doing? She's like sitting there woo wooing with her eyes closed. So I felt uncomfortable in my surroundings and I wanted things to hurry up. And then it just kept dragging out. It was so painfully slow. But when that arrow finally shot, all that had to happen was just the fingers move just a millimeter and just let that arrow, and it shot straight through the sky. Like flawlessly. And the lesson in that was if you're sloppy and you don't line things up properly, you can shoot the bow 10 times and not hit the target. But if you take the time to carefully set things up in a calculated way, that when you finally do launch that arrow, it's going to hit the bullseye and it's going to be absolutely flawless. Like that slow motion video where the arrows just and hits the target. So that's the vision I saw for him, which carried me through the next 4 long years where I had to have a lot of patience for moving in the direction of things that I want to just happen immediately, included us breaking free into this new chapter in a completely different paradigm, completely different people, different timeline. And that's all something that I saw was possible with him. The vision that I want to share with you guys today is one of the future for humanity. And I'm not really one to talk about, at least on my channel, I don't talk about aliens or spaceships or anything like that. But I've spent the last, I would say, 9 years delving into all sorts of different information about extraterrestrials, their influence here, our relationship with knowing what's out there. So much information has come across my desk in the last, like 8, 9 years that I couldn't even begin to package it up. But all that to say, it primed the pump for me fully believing that we are in the future going to have cosmic disclosure. And cosmic disclosure is that people are going to awaken to the fact that we are not alone in this universe. We're not alone. And that there definitely is, like, the extraterrestrials definitely have their poker chips involved in this game, Earth. And right now, what Earth is going through is this huge collective shift in consciousness, and I believe that what is happening, or what's happening right now is that our consciousness has to shift into a certain frequency before these extraterrestrial beings that are far beyond us can interface with us, can work with us. Right now, it's not safe for them to come to us in a collective way because we can't even get along with each other. There's so much war and fighting and racism and polarity that in order for a lot of people to accept that now there's extraterrestrials and aliens and that there are good ones, like that would just be way too much for people. Let alone the predictive programming that Hollywood has done through the movies that they've released to program people to think that extraterrestrials are a complete threat to our world. In most movies that you've seen, it's the aliens, the US military goes all out to fight these extraterrestrials to protect us. But I believe that there are some really good extraterrestrials out there that want to help us. I do want to share this vision with you because of where humanity has been going. This consciousness shift that we are all experiencing right now, every single one of us are experiencing this consciousness shift, whether we know it or not. And most of us in the spiritual community try to work with it, try to amplify it. And we understand that a lot of this spiritual enlightenment and awakening is coming through really high frequency light energy that is hitting our planet. And that is also having its effect on our DNA. So we have been experiencing body aches and pains and headaches and exhaustion more so than normal because these really high frequency light rays, also known as solar flares, are hitting our planet and basically forcing us to raise our vibration and to expand and to shift into this higher consciousness. I don't know if you've heard the term 3D versus 5D consciousness, but we're moving from polarity into unity consciousness. We are spiritually awakening. We're coming online as the multidimensional quantum beings that we are, and we are slowly starting to recognize our own power. We're shifting our power away from external individuals and programs and matrices into our own self and our connection to our own divinity, the God that lives within us, and expanded consciousness. So much information has been coming out over even the last 5 years. I've learned so much about all the conspiracies, all the truth that's coming out now. And that's all part of the movement because people need to know what's going on. They need to have the knowledge before they can shift and do anything about it. All that being said, a lot of people right now that I work with from every area of life, they're starting to get this calling that the current model that they're working with is going to be obsolete in the future. It's no longer working. And so we're finding that with this in every single industry. I've seen it with lawyers, the legal system. They're exposing the corruption of the judges and the entire legal system and how our rights and our freedoms are not truly being honored and not being fought for, and how the courts are ruling in favor of criminals. I have seen it in the healthcare system where doctors are no longer aligning with how things are moving. They no longer feel like they are doing no harm and helping people. They feel like they're just following the pharmaceutical, follow the money, and downright hurting people, administrating vaccines and drugs that are harming people. I also see it in the world of engineering where people are starting to realize that the buildings that we're building right now are not very high vibrational buildings. Buildings used to be built with arches and beauty and detail and harmonics. Those old cathedrals, they actually have, when you play music, they heal. The harmonics in those places, it's very healing. As soon as you walk into one of those big buildings with the arches and the domes and the copper that they use and the iron, they were all, those old buildings that we inherited here were all meant to actually produce free energy and for healing. And now we look around and we're just building these modern boxes. We don't thrive in square boxes. We thrive in circles and in arches and things that we see in nature. We don't see any square boxes in nature. And so even engineers are recognizing that, our buildings are very low vibrational buildings. They actually lower our vibration these days. And so they're not quite keen on continuing to build that for our future, especially if they're aware of the fact that if you can build architecture in a certain way that uplifts people, that raises our vibration and that heals and the harmonics and the acoustics and everything. I've also know of people that do like specific grid work. So they actually know that from ancient teachings how to actually create a community where the buildings are positioned in such a way where the sun is shining through at certain times and there's a certain flow of things. It's like feng shui on steroids. Lots of people that I see have a certain calling on their life where they could be well into their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and they say that they know that they're here for something great. They don't know what that is, but they just have always felt like at some point in their life it's going to drop and they're being prepared for this big moment in time. They don't know what it is, but they just feel like there's a calling on their life and that it hasn't happened yet, but they're being prepared for that. There's been too many people that have shared that with me for me to just write it off or think that it's just like a one off. And I feel that as well. And many people in the spiritual community feel that way, that we're just being primed, that pump is being primed, and we're waiting, we're being prepared, we're being trained. Lots of people are going within themselves right now to train themselves to meditate and to reactivate their imagination and to envision things and to use their consciousness to leverage things in their life and manifest things in their life. And they're learning how to move energy with their hands, feel energy with their hands, harness energy, all of these things that are happening on an individual basis with people. People are ditching the drugs or becoming sober. They're letting go of lower vibrational paradigms and things for themselves because they are raising their vibration. Collectively, we are all being trained, we're all being prepared for something big, I feel. And so I want to share this vision with you that I saw. And okay, so basically, it was a large mothership that was descending on Earth, really big mothership that was descending on Earth. And all of the people that had been conditioned by the predictive programming to freak out when it came to aliens, they were just running, screaming in all different directions. And the military was amping up to do their thing, just like the movies. But there was a certain group of people that had already had experiences with possibly interfacing with aliens or extraterrestrials or even starseed groups like the Pleiadians or the Arcturians. So these all these different starseed groups of beings that are so far advanced than we are. We can't even comprehend it. They are already using conscious, sacred technology, free energy. They actually power their crafts with consciousness. That's why we see these crafts that can immediately just bleep out and then pop up somewhere different. And they learned how to collectively, so like together, they've learned how to unite for a better purpose. They've transcended the polarity that we see so violently in this earth right now. So, anyways, they're beings that are so far advanced than we are, and they have a lot to offer us, and they want to help humanity. According to Dr. Greer, we are about 100 years behind in sacred technology and unity consciousness. And I forget what else he said, but basically, we're 100 years behind in sacred technology, free energy, going beyond the government and the politics and the war and the polarity and finding bigger truth to all unite underneath and all unite for. So, anyways, having said that, there wasn't like full unity in this vision where everybody was on the same page. No, there were people that full on believe like, what? Aliens, freak out, everybody run. And so all those people ran and scattered like rats and just ran away from it, panicking, freaking out. But there were a handful of people that knew enough to gravitate towards this ship. And so I saw this ship, the doors opened, and these big stairs came out, and people were walking up the stairs, all walks of life. And it was almost as though the people that were walking onto the ship were in a different dimension than those that were absolutely freaking out because it wasn't happening all at the same time. I saw the people freaking out and running away and the chaos and the military and everybody arming up. That was almost like a different dimension where that was happening on a different timeline. But the people that were walking onto the ship, okay, it was like we were able to do that without any chaos going around us. These people were walking up the ship, and there were these like on an Apple store where they have all the little separate tables and they have Apple representatives helping each person pick out their iPad or whatever, show them on the screen of what was going on. So that's how it looked. There was a representative, extraterrestrial representative helping each party out. They were here to, and these people were really gravitating towards it because they felt like there was love and safety on this ship. They knew that these extraterrestrials were here to help us. And so what these extraterrestrials were showing us were blueprints. And these blueprints they lit up like the night at the museum, those tablets that light up like that quantum neon lighting. That's how these tablets came alive. These were the blueprints of what would help humanity, how to completely restore, completely rebuild, completely heal all of our problems and actually help us launch that 100-year gap. And so there was blueprints for engineering, for a new government system that would come in, for the politicians that are no longer agreeing with what's happening. There was healing blueprints of med beds and work with frequencies and metaphysical healings. There was all sorts of blueprints, even building aircraft for better transportation, because riding on an airplane is like the equivalent of riding on the backs of a dinosaur when it comes to the technology of what's possible for us to travel. So there was all sorts of these blueprints, and all of these people from different walks of life, whatever their area of expertise was, is the representative that was lined up with them to show them the blueprints. And so it was all the people that felt like there was this big calling on their life, that finally we're the ones that are given the blueprints to fully heal humanity, to save this world. And so these people were waiting for this their whole lives. And so they got these blueprints, and the Galactic, I'm sure you've heard of the Galactic Federation. That's what these beings were. It was like a galactic federation ship coming down, and these representatives helping people and giving us the blueprints of how to replace all of the old systems that are just absolutely crumbling right now. And we're in the period of time right now where we see those systems crumbling like a hot dumpster fire. The healthcare system is overloaded. We see corruption in politics, the government, the wars, racism, the polarity. Like, it is just, we're seeing everything crumble. And so these were the blueprints that were going to help rebuild all of that, but on a completely different quantum level. If you can imagine that we now had that technology like 100 years ahead, and we were the first ones to be introduced to these blueprints and the technology that we would then use to rebuild or build a completely different new earth grid. And what I also saw was that so the extraterrestrials were going to work together with all of these people to help rebuild. And what I also saw was that there was no like money exchange. It's not like these people got paid to do these jobs, but they also didn't have to worry about anything. Like, they were like fully taken care of in this new earth quantum, like 5D timeline, where all of your basics, all of your necessities were already paid for, already taken care of. So there was no question like, how much am I getting paid for this job? Like, it wasn't like that. People were no longer thinking along those lines of survival. That was given. These beings and these people that were working with these beings now were solely focused on creating and advancing things. And that's what happens when, because I have to bring everything back to the chakras because I'm the chakra queen. That's what happens when we shift people out of the root chakra. All right. The root chakra is at the very base of your spine, your perineum. When I work with people, I access it through the feet. The root chakra is the governor, the center of survival versus thriving. It's your basic needs. A lot of people right now have been stuck in survival mode. The system, the matrix that a certain group of people have created for us way back when, since the Federal Reserve was created and all of that. Even before then, we've been very much enslaved and stuck in the survival mode. And now we're seeing that people are really being cornered into that survival mode. People are working to make ends meet and still can't keep up. So it's failing us. All of these systems are failing us. It's like the ceiling is coming down and the walls are enclosing all at the same time, and people feel squished. They feel like they're just barely surviving. A lot of people can't even afford to fellowship with other people anymore. They can't afford to entertain at their homes anymore because there's not money in the budget to do anything but basically just pay your bills. When we shift out of the root chakra and we go into the sacral chakra, that is the center for creativity. That's where the creative juices start to flow. So it's almost as though with these blueprints and with the help of the Galactic Federation, that they were going to help us thrive. They shifted us out of the root chakra and then the creation started flowing. Okay. And then I'm just going to relay it to the chakral transformational process. So we go from the sacral chakra, which is in your pelvis, the creative energy, right? Also responsible for your procreative, anyways, organs that create life. And then the next one is that it shifts up into the solar plexus, which is aligned action, taking action. So these beings, these people, were going to take action on how to rebuild using these blueprints. And then it goes into the heart chakra where they were going to make the connections and create the grid. And then the throat chakra, it comes to communicate this to the others. And then when it moves into the third eye chakra where people see and they see with what is possible with their third eye. And I say their third eye because they're seeing what's possible, even though their current circumstances and their historical conditioning has never shown them that. Like it's almost believe it before you see it kind of thing. And then it actualizes through the crown chakra where we are actually bringing that divinity, we're actually bringing that divinity down and anchoring in heaven on earth. So that was the vision that I saw. And I saw that all of these people that I'd felt like there had been some kind of a higher calling on their life had a chance to finally be part of something big, be part of helping humanity in such a big way. We're talking bigger than having a huge following on Instagram and having a lot of influence that way, but still remaining to be like an independent soldier that is fighting the big fight. This was an opportunity for all of the people on earth who had been preparing themselves, who had visions or downloads or inklings about a new earth grid. They were all coming together and they're like, hell yes, this is what we've been waiting for. And we get to work together. And we're not even creating the way on how to do this because it's really hard for people that are trying to, here on earth right now, fight the system. We've seen so much of that. People, they try and they make a couple advances and then the system just takes them down again. So I think that's where these quantum blueprints that we were getting from the Galactic Federation that were being revealed to us, and they're like, this works, and we are going to help you implement these things. We are going to help you to heal the planet and liberate the planet, and that there's freedom and prosperity for everyone, and that you guys are up to speed with free energy so you no longer have to start wars over finite resources on this planet, that the mismanaged resources on this planet could be purposefully and intentionally directed in such a way where they're just being used in the way that they need to be. There's a lot more respect for the planet. The blueprints for the oceans to be cleaned up entirely. The blueprints for our soil to be remineralized. The blueprints for healers to help other people raise their vibration because all of the conscious beings out there that have an intention to help humanity raise their vibration and awaken to their consciousness, what's going to happen as a result of that is that we're not going to have people who blatantly disrespect people anymore. A conscious, healed being doesn't steal from people, doesn't disrespect people, doesn't treat people poorly, doesn't want to take advantage of people, doesn't care more about money than it does about somebody's health and well-being, like the pharmaceutical companies, right? So a collective raise in vibration makes people more empathic, more mindful, because we realize we're all one. And so a conscious, empathic being is going to treat themselves better, love themselves more, and love other people more, and love the planet more. And you can so see how so and so forth that creates this ripple effect. But there were so many examples that I saw of our food industry. Everything, every industry had this elevation to it, this liberation, this healing, this a better way to do everything. And it was beautiful. One of the things that I saw was that right now they're spraying our sky with really harmful chemicals, with chemtrails. And I think that some people honestly truly believe that they're combating climate changes, but I do also believe that there's a nefarious agenda to release all these chemicals and toxins and vaccines and bacteria into the sky as mass population control and trying to dummy down us from awakening, because that's really truly the establishments and the matrix's greatest fear, is that we actually do come online as the powerful interdimensional quantum conscious beings that we are, that our pineal glands do decalcify and that we are actually able to see through all of these illusions. That is their greatest fear. And so I do believe that all of the chemicals that they're spraying in the skies and all of that definitely does play into that. But one thing that I saw, and one thing that I've also heard confirmed with the channeler Bashar, if you're familiar with him, that gold, if they were to spray gold in the skies, the same way that they spray these chemtrails in the skies, that it would basically take care of the climate change problems. It would take care of the trees not growing, the plants not growing, the soil becoming demineralized. It would take care of people's health problems. It would completely elevate everybody's frequency. The problem is, though, is that because we're stuck in the system and in the matrix that we're in, gold is valued in such a way where we hoard it and we pile gold and we value it in a monetary way rather than a natural resource that could help everybody. There's nobody who has gold wants to go and put it into these nanoparticles and spread it throughout the skies because we're so focused on hoarding it and keeping it because it's valuable. It is valuable, but we could use it to help heal the world instead of keep it enslaved. But spraying gold in the skies would completely take care of 90% of the issues with climate change and our sicknesses and the side effects that we're getting from all the crap that they're spreading in the skies. So these teachings and these things were going to be made known to all of us. And it was really cool to see that these quantum blueprints actually lit up. Like they weren't just like writings and contracts and stuff. They actually lit up like a 3D like grid almost. They were of a different nature. So it was really cool to see. I don't know when this is going to happen, but I want to get this message out into the universe online because one day I want to be able to say, I told you, and I want to be able to be the one. That's my ego talking. I want to be able to be like, I'm the one that saw that vision. But the rest of me really wants to just get that message out there because I truly do believe that as we collectively focus on one outcome, we can manifest that tenfold times. When you are in a like when you're in a relationship, you have if you work together toward a common goal or if you share the same vision, you have twice as much momentum behind that manifestation, right? A husband and wife working towards one goal. You got two times the amount of momentum behind that manifestation. Where two or more gather, we have historical accounts of monks getting together and all meditating at the same time, transcendental meditations, and healing people. Even Dr. Joe Dispenza does it, where he gets novice meditators to go into a room with also beginner meditators, and they go into transcendental meditation, and their brain waves start to change. They go from alpha and beta into delta waves, and then they start to go into thick gamma rays. Gamma rays are the most powerful rays, and they start to like whoom, 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 and it creates this grid in the room. And as that energy reverberates off of the walls and builds because it's gaining momentum and energy through the people that are meditating in the room, people have spontaneous healings. He has literally had people, my friend was at one of his events and she called her boyfriend bawling on the phone because she had just witnessed a man who could never hear regain, be able to hear for the first time. And he was just beside himself. I get so emotional when I retell that story because it is emotional. It's beautiful. People are healing themselves. People are elevating. That's what's possible. And so that's what I hope for the future for our humanity. That is why I want to inspire people to get curious about meditation, about their chakras, about activating their light bodies, about belief in raising their vibration and the effect that has on this planet, that we're all quietly, spiritually awakening in our own way behind the scenes, that we are being prepared and trained for something greater and something bigger. And if you in your life feel like you are meant for something bigger, something greater, I hope that this message inspires you. I hope it helps to know that somewhere in our future, that all of us who feel so alone and so crazy right now because we are experiencing things that 90% of the public doesn't experience. We know the things that are possible that 90% don't know. When we talk about astral projection and healing yourself and quantum technology and quantum physics and manifestation and meditation and your intuition and your spirit guides and extraterrestrials, most people just have this really glazed look over their eye or literally just think you're insane and nuts, but you're not nuts. This is happening to people at an individual basis because it is priming the pump. It's preparing us for this big collective shift that's coming. It is happening right now. But I wanted to share that vision with you. As far out as it is, I have been hanging on to it for months, and I thought I got to get this out there before I forget the details. I probably have already forgotten the details. It's not as vivid as it was once, and I wish I would have recorded it back then, but I felt like I needed to share this vision with all of you. So thank you for joining me on the Visions for Humanity podcast. If you would like a session with me, I am in the process of rebuilding my website right now, but you can always get me on Instagram. My handle is at I am Kiki Sita. KIKISEIDA. And you can find me there. You can click on the link in bio. You can book yourself a one on one session with me if you want a reading, if you want to have your chakras balanced and you want some insight in your life. Those insights are simply channeled from your highest self. I am simply a conduit for that information to come through me, but I have helped a lot of people in a very practical way of how to move and navigate through different difficult chapters of their life and gain insight on what their purpose here is, that deeper purpose that lots of people want to tap into. So thank you for being here today. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. I am growing my new channel organically and I appreciate your support. I'll see you next time.